something.
And they dropped out.
Yeah.
Got
I told
Amy
him
on
I would.
board?
No, not yet.
There he is. Get him.
I think it could be Michael Laredo.
No, it
Oh, there
says
he-
Ian. It's Ian.
I know, I'm getting a message from Michael as we're speaking. Not sure what's going on with the Zoom links. Okay, now he should be.
Okay, I see the mayor's picture on here.
There we go.
Okay, there goes the mayor. All right, you can start rolling it.
Okay, we are recording, so we can start the meeting.
Okay, call to order the Water Demand Committee meeting for Thursday, June 5th, 2025. And our time is 1:37. Roll call, please.
Director Oglesby,
Here.
Chair Edwards,
Here.
and Director Anderson will be joining us. I just need to respond to her message.
Okay, thank you. All right, first item of the business. Any additions and corrections to the agenda?
Nope.
Okay, no corrections or additions. Okay. First, public comment. Anyone from the public have 3 minutes to mention anything not on the agenda to the committee?
Chair Edwards, I see no members of the public in attendance.
Okay. First action item. Go ahead, GM. What is it?
Well, Stephanie, if you want to weigh in here, this is the ordinance.
Well, no, isn't the first item the minutes?
The minutes are first, Dave.
Yeah,
Oh, yep. My head's already past that. Yep.
I approve the minutes.
I'll
Motion.
second it. Okay, anyone from the public join in yet?
Nope.
If not, we'll take a vote. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Minutes approved. What's the next item? I'll go to Stephanie.
Yeah, the next item is consider a recommendation to the board on first reading of draft ordinance 198, which amends definitions and processes related to water permits. As I was mentioning to Alvin earlier, this ordinance is the first of several ordinances that the board will be considering that does amendments to our rules and regulations, but rather than overwhelming the committee and the board with these changes, I'm going to try to keep them fairly simple and kind of subject matter focused. So this first ordinance amends a couple of definitions. It adds or deletes the odd numbered property definition, which is an old remainder from our former rationing program. Adds the definition for dormitory bed at an educational facility, and amends the CalAm main system name, just because we tend to call it two different, either the main CalAm system or the CalAm main system. So it would allow us to use both of those. And then it adds advanced treated recycled water. That definition, which would refer to the water from Pure Water Monterey, which could be used for groundwater recharge and potable consumption. The ordinance also amends Rule 23, which is the action on an application for a water permit. And there are a couple little tiny clarifications before the first major change, which was to relocate part of that rule from this first section to the second section, which is the mandatory conditions of approval. So we just deleted the whole metering requirement section from this first part of the rule and moved it to the second part of the rule, where you will find the highlighted bold italicized text under what's now called water meter requirements. And that's also been reordered, so it makes a little more sense for anybody who's trying to read the rule. My own staff had difficulty with how it was structured currently, and so we recommend that we have this change made. Beyond that, just another couple little tiny tweaks, and then the big thing is the second bathroom protocol amendment that was adopted by urgency ordinance number 196 last August. And because it was an urgency ordinance, that change was not codified, and it actually will expire in August of this year. And we want to make it a permanent change to our rules and regulations. So that's what this last section of the ordinance does, is just incorporate what we adopted last year into the rules. And this ordinance, like I said, would go for first reading at the June board meeting. Second reading and adoption would be the July board meeting, and it would be effective on August 21st, which is just perfectly in line with what we needed with that urgency ordinance. I should
Okay.
say, Fran has had a chance to look the ordinance over. She and I spoke earlier today. We've made a couple small edits that you'll see when it comes to the board at the June meeting.
And we have more findings that Steph will
And I have
draft.
to do the findings, yes.
Good, good. Mayor, any comments on it?
No, it sounds good. Looks good to me, I appreciate updating the ordinance.
Okay. Just a question, Stephanie, and between you and Dave and the AGM, how would you present this to the realtors? Are you going to wait until all of them done, or are you going to start doing it now while it's fresh? You give it to the board, and then you give it. There goes Amy joining the meeting. How would you present that?
Well, in this case, Alvin, there's really no reason to share this with the realtors because it doesn't have anything to do with any of their work. This is taking existing processes that we currently have in our rules and just relocating them and changing it. So I don't think there's really anything here that will require additional review by anyone, but I think you are correct that when we go through these other ordinances and as we do start making some bigger changes, those will need to be communicated to the TAC committee and to the realtors as it would affect them. So I will definitely keep that in mind as we move forward.
Okay, and just a reminder, we had that second bathroom that we updated from last year. Make sure we emphasize that to the public.
I will do that.
That's something that they'll probably like to hear. Some people we have new on the peninsula.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm looking for a recommendation to support the ordinance to the board.
All right. And Director Anderson, any
Hi, Amy.
Hi.
questions?
God. Oh, man. Thank you for helping me in, Sarah, like 4 times. One of them finally worked. So have you gone over this whole, obviously you haven't gone over the whole thing, but are you trying to accept it in total right now? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, this is just, this is a very short ordinance that just makes changes to definitions, the order that we do our metering requirements and a couple little clarifications, and then adopts the rule that we had for urgency ordinance last year.
Yeah, I read the whole thing. I didn't know, is that what we're agreeing on right
Yeah,
now?
we're just trying to get a recommendation to the board right now.
Oh,
Yes.
yes, I would say yes. Sorry.
Okay.
So can we get a motion?
So
Is there any public comment? Chair Edwards?
Oh, that's true too.
no public. We went out there and checked.
I
No
see we do have 2 members of the public online. However, there are no raised hands.
Okay.
Okay,
Can we
then
get a-
I would suggest accepting this draft ordinance on number 198.
Second that motion.
Okay, and we went out to the public, no public comment. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay. What's the next item?
So the next item is to give you a preview of what your Summer Splash game board is going to look like. As you know, we came at our last meeting and talked a little bit about the plans for Summer Splash, the budget and all that stuff. But we actually do have artwork by Aldo Crusher. So what we've got, can you go to the next page, Sarah, please? There we go. So this is what this is what the final product looks like with both the background and the game board. And we have, the background can be used separately, so we could add text to it. We can do different things with it. The game board also comes off, so it's a separate graphic as well. But this is a big step up from the former game board that we've been using for the last several years. We have a list of questions that we will be providing, and then as Ian, I don't know if you're aware of this, but every year in the summertime, we've been doing this family-oriented conservation game where people go online and they watch videos and answer questions. And when they're complete with the game board, they can enter to win a number of very good prizes. And so we're planning to launch this July 1st, and it will run through the 31st of July. And there's no action on this. This is just to show you what this product looked like.
Okay. It looks to me a little smaller than the last year's.
Well, I think it's just kind of how it's laid out right now. Yeah.
Okay.
But it will be a full page.
Okay. 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 I guess I'll see it again at public outreach.
Yeah, actually, I think we will have it at public outreach. So yes.
At the end of this month, I hope.
Yep.
So we can
Okay.
see this and everybody can see it.
Yep.
Any other questions from directors on this item?
When it's larger and it can be read, that would be good.
Yeah, and it will have text on it. So you know,
Yeah.
the sky will have something, whether it's summer splash. But we just got this artwork yesterday or this morning.
cool.
so, yeah.
Cool, yeah, no, it's nice.
Yeah.
It looks like fun. If I were a kid, to be some years ago.
Y'all make the questions a little bit tougher. 'Cause we're giving out
Well,
more
we can't
prizes.
use the same questions every year, so I know it's always a challenge.
Well, we need to work on changing that.
Yeah, and Sarah Rubin wants to win this year, I'm sure. So,
Okay.
all right. So there's no action on that. We can go on to the next item.
Okay, Mayor, you got any questions on this item?
No, no.
Okay, let's move along to the next. Let's check the public. Any questions from the public on this item?
Chair Edwards, I see no raised hands.
Okay, no raised hand. Okay, next item there, Stephanie.
I think our next item will be given by our general manager.
Well, and not much to say because
okay.
it's still in process. We have submitted, all parties have submitted their final comments on the proposed decision for the phase 2 proceeding, the supply and demand proceeding. There's a flurry of comments that have been made. Almost every party submitted initial comments and then replied to the other parties. We have an all hands meeting at 3 o'clock this afternoon, where hopefully this whole process will be concluded, at least the input from the various parties. And then we will look for a final decision probably within a month. I think if things were to just stand as they are with the proposed decision, the district kind of prevailed on the big issues on the supply side, with full credit for the Pure Water Monterey expansion and the ASR project, inclusive of storage. But we still have some dispute over the demand assumptions. We believe there continues to be double counting in the demand numbers. It's unfortunate how it manifested itself in a prior decision, and so this decision in error, but it is what we're stuck with as of right now, looks back to the prior decision in 2018 and doubles down on the methodology and says, well, we think the methodology approved in 2018 is valid still today, and therefore the commission, have adopted this prognosis of demand, which continues to have both an increase in population, which would be served, of course, with residential water use, and then on top of it, water for vacant lots of record and water for Pebble Beach build out, which are, basically included as part of a 20 to 25 year demand forecast, economic forecast. So that'll be the subject of conversation this afternoon. Hopefully, it comes down to kind of a human nature issue when you've got 5 parties all parroting the same conclusion on one hand, and a single party saying, "Oh no, it's different." How do you balance the two? And I think, unfortunately, the administrative law judges and even the assigned commissioner here attempt to be kind of balancing both ends instead of seeing it as binary. It's either right or it's wrong.
Wow.
And instead we're getting kind of a Solomonic split the baby in the middle kind of situation. So we'll see where that leads, but nothing conclusive to report at this point.
So, to the chair,
Yeah, go ahead, Amy.
they can't bring in a statistician or a mathematician to
Yeah.
actually have another opinion about this since you're so stuck? I mean, that makes sense to me.
Well, that's a really interesting statement, because that's the whole idea of testimony and expert witnesses. And so, here you have, you just strip it down to us and Marina Coast Water District. You've got 2 water districts who are in the business of water. And one of them went out and got a nationally recognized third-party consultant. The city of
Wow.
Marina, who's not in the business of water, but also went out and got a third-party consultant, they all reached the same conclusion, within reason of each other. And so one would think that just upon a read of the testimony, that's why I say it's kind of a human nature issue. You would have thought that the law judge, and maybe this is why it's taken over a year to get a proposed decision, because when you think about it, it's like, well, why would these 5 entities be saying one thing, and this one entity, which unfortunately is the investor-owned utility we regulate, I think it's a perplexing issue for the commission itself. And, we've kind of exhausted saying the same thing over and over and over, but that's really what it comes down to, is we just keep saying, hey, look over there, there's a mistake that's been made and now it's been perpetuated, but we can't seem to, to break through. So, yep.
Okay.
It's really hard to fathom it. It's so unprofessional.
Well, and it is. And the unfortunate part of this also is, the Public Utilities Commission doesn't do its own original work. It's not like they've got a forecasting team. And so what they're doing is reviewing the submittals by all the parties and then saying, okay, which one do we believe to be more likely to be true? And, occasionally you get boxed into having to say, well, we believe this one is more likely to be true, because that becomes your finding of fact on which to base a decision. And it may be that if the PUC is predisposed to a decision, then they need to find the facts that support that decision.
Right. That's how it feels.
Yeah.
And that's why I asked, where else can we go after them? If it's nowhere, we just tell the public it's nowhere else. But
well, and that's where,
I start thinking about it.
if they don't if they don't backtrack too much from this proposed decision, I think we have enough to prevail on the lifting of the cease and desist order in the decision, which is very beneficial for us because we want to point to the PUC as saying, hey, as of today, there is a surplus. And they have said that. They've said that.
Okay,
And then you can argue whether you need a desal plant perhaps in a different venue. I mean, that's not closed off to us at this point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
all right. Any items for a future agenda? But I'd like for y'all to add on the next agenda, updates on CDO, updates on amnesty. You must as well keep them on the agenda, ongoing.
Yeah, so on amnesty, we were actually going to update you today, and then Stephanie appropriately pointed out that we're updating the entire board
Right.
at the June board meeting. So
Even if, I would like the committee to get those updates too.
Yep.
So, I believe in that order. It goes through committee and then it goes to the full board.
Yeah,
So-
although you saw the report at the last meeting, so it's
Yeah.
basically just that same report updated with more current information.
All right. So just keep them ongoing on these agendas
Okay.
until we get them completed.
Will do.
Mayor, Amy, anything y'all like to see on the agenda in the future?
No, I don't have anything, but I do want to go back to what Dave was just talking about documenting what the PUC says about the amount of water that we have.
Okay, go ahead.
Those are official statements from the official body. And so we need to make sure we're documenting that, and maybe Jim, have them give us some type of letter stating that, not just we have to look for it in some report somewhere, but if that's their pushback, can someone just write us a letter clearly saying their position is there's more than enough water?
Yeah.
Good.
I think that's that's good evidence for our next conversation with lifting the order.
Yeah.
But other than that, I just wanted to comment. Thank you so much on that update.
All right. Yeah, no problem. Amy, anything?
Well, the only thing for me is I have been having trouble getting into the meetings, and it's extremely frustrating. I went to the second time I went to the board, to the district website, there were no menus like about, and I know I have to go into about to get down to how to get into the committee meetings. I have not been able to find the subcommittee meetings. I think that there could be a little bit of language like on about. It's just as, it could list after that subcommittees or whatever, so you know how to get into it, because it's you have to hover, and it's not simple is all I to say.
I understand. I have the same problem. Sarah helped me out there a little bit. And
I know. Well, she helped me out too, and then
I accidentally
to
got
send
in
me
here
something.
today.
yeah, she had to send me something different because I couldn't get into the subcommittee list so that I could get to this committee, so I could get to the meeting link.
Yeah, I think we've got a meeting with Phil Wellman next Tuesday morning.
Good.
I think we'll bring that up because the navigation to committee meetings is not crystal clear.
No, it's not.
Really straightforward to get to the board
Mhm.
agenda.
And
And I've been thinking a little bit about it because it may be that the board agenda link could have at its top, a separate button for looking for committees.
Yes. Wonderful.
And then, yeah, something like that.
Great idea.
And also just a reminder, when I do send out the Zoom invites, it doesn't come from my email. It comes from Zoom. It's indicating Sarah is inviting you to be a panelist, but sometimes people are looking for the email directly from me.
Yeah,
but it's coming from Zoom, but it does have my name in the email.
right, right. That's
So when I
why,
send out the reminder, I already have sent out the Zoom invite so that when you're reading the reminder, you should have your invite in your inbox.
And you can click on the agenda, and then when you open up the agenda, the Zoom link is there.
Yes.
Yeah, and that actually works pretty well.
Yeah,
And then I can always move you over if you use the general link to.
yeah. Well, and I keep getting Zoom Workplace that's popping up,
That's the app that.
and I don't know how to get out of that. Is that do I need to use that? I mean,
It would be best to log into the Zoom Workplace app to join the meeting.
oh,
And then it'll start remembering your credentials, so you won't have to go through the whole exercise each time.
okay. I thought it
Yeah.
looks like it's a completely different thing, Zoom Workplace, but maybe it isn't. Is it what you're using now?
It's what they consider the app versus going to the website and logging in.
Yeah, I don't go, I use the app.
Yeah. So it may mean that you have to sign in to your Zoom app. There could be updates that it needs to run through. Could be
Okay.
a couple of things. Yeah.
Then
You and I can have a tutorial if we
Thank
need to.
you. Thank you. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and sometimes they do update, and then if you try to, I mean, we just had that situation yesterday with the PUC on WebEx, and my old version of WebEx
Yeah.
wouldn't work. And so, I thought I was being really smart to join the meeting, 90 seconds before the meeting start time. And then I had to download the newer version of WebEx,
Yeah.
Oh,
which took me more than 90 seconds. So.
yeah, that sounds like me today. I was on time, but I wasn't on time. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, work with Sarah.
okay, just a final check, anything from the public on anything that we covered?
Chair, excuse me. I see no raised hands.
Okay, no raised hands.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
All this meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.